Albert Hubert said, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." What this quote means is that when life hands you sour situations that aren't the best or ideal, you have to make good out of them. I'm here to tell you that no matter what, you can turn bad things into good situations, no matter what the circumstances are. One example of this would be my own personal story, and it goes back to when I was 15 years old, and I would be playing sports all the time. And I love sports, and I always thought I was going to go to college for sports, and I was known as this amazing athlete, and I just can't explain it another way that I loved sports. Were literally my life. And one day I was playing soccer, and I turned too quickly. I turned right, and my top of my leg went one way, and the bottom half of my leg went the other way. And I ended up tearing my ACL, and from then on, it was a very, very long road to recovery because I went on to tear my ACL about 4 more times, and along with that came 11 more surgeries. So this was a very bad situation for me because I was an athlete and that's all I had known, and I had the difficult task of figuring out how I was going to turn this bad situation into a good one. And it wasn't an easy task at all by any means, but over the course of about 2 years, I would say I had a turnaround, and I was able to make a bad situation good in my life. And it didn't come easy at all, but I had to start with picking out little things in every day that I could be happy about and that I could be excited about, because it was hard to always be injured and always having surgery. And actually, another example of how you turn bad situations into good situations or make good out of bad situations would be my friend Joel Kiefer. I interviewed him, and I wanted to share a little bit of Joel's story with you. And Joel was a senior in high school and did not know where he was going next in life, and he did not want to go to college at all. He did not feel the need to go. And Joel traveled to Australia for Youth with a Mission, also known as YWAM, and there he studied ministry, he made new friends, he hung out with kids, and then from there he went to Africa and did an outreach program. And while Joel was in Australia, his father grew sick, and when Joel came home, he found out his dad had cancer, and it was a very quick process. They found out in November he had cancer, and by the following December he had passed away. And Joel struggled very badly, and when I interviewed Joel, he described the situation as just the worst possible thing that could have happened to him. He said, "I didn't know how I was going to come back from this, or how I was ever going to love someone, or how I was ever going to have friends again, or want to smile, or anything." And Joel had a solid year of what he described as a big cloud over his head, and he just didn't know what to do because he had this horrible situation happen to him, and he didn't see any good that can come from it. But a year after his dad passed away, things started to turn around, and he started to decide that he needed to make good out of this situation. And so he did, and he enrolled at Eastern University, where we go to, and he became a youth mid-major, and he actually graduated in 3 years. And Joel is just a perfect example of when something bad happens to you, how you have to make something good out of it. And if you don't, it can spiral out of control, and you can live a life that is just very sad and depressing, feeling sorry for yourself. But it's important to make good things and make things happen out of bad situations. And I believe this is due to perspective. I think perspective definitely helps you make good out of anything in life. And Abraham Lincoln said, "We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses." And I thought this was a very interesting quote and a very powerful quote, because it really does show you the perspective. You can complain that these beautiful rose bushes have these little thorns that hurt you when you touch them, or you can look at it as these big, massive thorn bush have these beautiful roses on them. And I think Abraham puts it perfectly. And I think that's what Joel did in his situation, and I think that's what I did in my situation. And we were able to look at these situations that seemed like they were roses with thorns, and we turned them into thorn bushes with beautiful roses on them. And I think that no matter what the situation is, the most important thing that you need is God. And Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I believe that in my situation personally, that I could not have gotten through all those surgeries and giving up my dreams and everything, even if it was at a young age, without God, because there was a lot of days where I sat in my room and I cried about it, and I thought, well, what am I going to do next, because my dreams are over and all these bad things happened to me. And even after I had surgery, I wouldn't even play sports again, and I would somehow injure myself, and my bones started to shift, and they were tearing my kneecap in 2 different ways and pulling my ACL apart. And I just remember praying and asking God for strength to get through it. And God not only gave me strength, but he also gave me a different perspective. And that perspective was that the situation that was happening to me wasn't as bad as other situations in the world. And Joel, when I was interviewing him, said the same thing. He said that God gave him the ability to see and the strength to get through his situation. He was able to look at it differently and to just believe that he was going to get through it. And I really do think that through bad situations, no matter what the circumstances are, you can find good. And I think that you can do that with God. Thank you all.